The photo that you see right now, it's not from some particular movie. Okay, this is an actual photo that was taken in the country of Bulgaria. Okay, and well, this has been found to be that it was indeed Australia Borealis, or the Northern Lights, or the Polar Lights, as we study in our books. So this will be the scope of the discussion today, the first part of our discussion. My name is Bhuvan. This is the Indian Express Explained. Let's get started. Right. So if you have any particular questions related to the discussion that we have here today, you go ahead and connect with me on my Instagram ID. Right. Coming back to this photo that I presented before you of Australia Borealis. Okay. So now, ideally, you would expect this phenomenon to be just limited to, say, the polar or the subpolar region. However, now this is being observed to be even, say, down south as much as, say, near the equator. Okay, even in Ladakh, India, reports of people seeing these auroras have been confirmed. Okay, so let's go ahead and understand first what this entire fact is about. Aurora Borealis, commonly known as the Northern Lights, Polar Lights, right? This has been seen in Bulgaria for the first time. Okay, now this has lasted over the past 2 days. You also found this to be seen and observed in, say, large parts of Europe. Okay, so what is happening? Firstly, what is causing this Aurora Borealis? Okay, what is the cause of this? First, realize that in our Earth, on our Earth, you have these kind of lights that are primarily found in this area. Here it is called as Aurora Borealis, and here it is called as Aurora Australis. Right? So these are the first two subcategories that we know of. Bulbul, Vikrant, your neighbor, Coder. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining. Very nice. So now, ideally, you must have seen photos that would have shown you this in, say, green color. Right? Tinge of green or neon color is what you would have seen. What happened then? Why is red color been observed? That is one question that we need to consider. Also, the fact that you are finding these sightings happening a lot more southern now. Much more expand range where you can go ahead and sight them. So how is that happening exactly? Let's understand that. Okay. First, let's understand Aurora Borealis. As I told you, predominantly seen in the high latitude regions, Arctic and Antarctic, this being the normal area of influence. Okay. At some parts, you might have a little bit of southern deviation. Same with, say, the Australis bit. It could go a bit northern in some cases, but this is where it would stay limited to. But you would also find this located and, say, obviously being observed a lot southern also. Like I told you, you have seen it in Ladakh, right? So this is it. The range is not uniform. The range changes. What causes the ranges to change? We will understand that. Okay. Now, why does it happen in the first time? Why does it happen in the first place? What is the reason behind it? Well, the reason is pretty simple. It's to do with the singular body that gives out all the energy that we know of, the sun. Okay. Now, the sun is an extremely volatile body. It has not reached stability. What it seeks to do is it gives out all of its energy in the form of solar winds. Now, these solar winds, traveling at huge speeds, they come, hit the Earth's, say, magnetosphere, and then you find that there is an increase in the speed that happens. Thereby, they get transported to the poles, towards the poles. And thus you find that aurora is to be observed near the poles. But what causes this increase in speed to happen is something that we should consider. So let's go ahead and understand one by one. Okay. It is caused by the collision of energetic charged particles with atoms in the high altitude atmosphere. So you have all of this solar winds, solar activity that starts from the corona of the sun. Okay, the outermost layer of the sun. Then it comes to the Earth's atmosphere, travels this huge distance between the sun and the Earth, comes to the Earth's atmosphere. And in the ionosphere that you know of, just below, say, your exosphere. Okay, in the ionosphere, you have this go ahead and interact and break up and give us different sorts of light. Okay. So the aurora's color, more importantly, develops and depends on the type of atom that is excited. So for example, the red color photos that you saw right now, these photos that were observed in Bulgaria, Now these are to do with nitrogen atoms being excited, right? So whichever atom gets excited gives the range of colors that we expect. Eventually it is seeking to achieve stability, and in that manner it is going out and giving us light. Sarvesh, good morning. How are you? Okay. So let's look at it now. Right. So the science, let's understand this. As I told you, the sun is ejecting highly charged particles from its corona, and thus it travels this huge distance between the sun and the earth. Eventually though, as it reaches the earth's magnetic field, our magnetic shield essentially goes and transports this on both sides. It deflects it. Okay? So at that high energy wind slams the earth's ionosphere, then you have the aurora that is formed. Now please understand this deflection is important because this is the primary reason why you observe your auroras around your poles. Okay? Now more importantly, from the examination perspective, here is a new concept that I want you to focus on. This was confirmed in the year 2021. Something that is known as Alphen waves. Now what are Alphen waves? They are low frequency, powerful undulations that are occurring in the plasma due to electromagnetic forces. Correct? And thus you have these electrons. They go ahead and they get transported. They are able to almost like surf. Do you understand surfing that you see on the seas? This is what it does. This Alphen waves are this undulating, phenomenon. It gives that undulating medium, and thus you have increased speed. Like I told you, 45 million miles per hour is the speed of the solar wind. It is because of this speed that the excitation of the atom happens, and thus you have the lights that you can see. So an Alphen wave is essentially going to go ahead and help you increase the speed of the wave, thereby give you better lights. Correct? So Alphen waves, one important concept that you should keep in mind, given that, it's a new concept in geography, came in the year 2021. Now, like I told you, these, auroras, what you're experiencing is that you're able to observe them even south, in case of northern hemisphere, even south. Let's go ahead and draw it. Chalo. So if this is your earth, right, ideally, like I told you, this was the range where you would expect your aurora borealis and aurora australis, right? But what is happening now that you're able to observe it a lot more southern in case of the north hemisphere and a lot more northern in case of the south hemisphere? Now that concept is to do with essentially the solar cycle. What is the solar cycle? Let's understand it in the simplest manner possible. Okay, what is the solar cycle? So solar cycle is that particular condition where the sun as a body, right, goes and undergoes a magnetic reversal. Okay, so its north pole becomes its magnetic north becomes its magnetic south becomes its magnetic north. Because of this, again, there is a lot of volatility that is experienced by the sun as a body. Now, the important factor to remember this is that here you are looking at a period of 11 years approximately. But the key word here is approximately. Why? Because at times you find that this reversal may happen in even 8 years. Right? So this is the concept. Because of this, because of the reversal happening, you can have a lot of instability, and that is why the sun will go ahead and eject a lot more solar winds at a lot more force. Right? Increased sunspot activity is what you must have read. Correct? So because of the reversal happening in the sun, right? Reversal of the sun's magnetic fields. Correct? What you experience is that it goes ahead and gives out a lot more solar winds. It is seeking to achieve stability, but that's not happening. So it is just ejecting as much of the excess energy that it can. And in that manner, when it hits the Earth's magnetic shield, it gets deflected. Now, the more the activity from the sun, the more the deflection that is observed here. So what does that tell you? That an increased, more when you're achieving solar maxima, right? When the sun is achieving solar maxima, which means that it is now going ahead and ejecting a lot more of solar material. Ejection of solar winds is increasing. So when it achieves solar maxima, which means that you are going to have your aurora borealis and aurora australis that will be observed over larger areas. Whereas when the sun is at solar minima, you are going to have it limited just to say the poles and subpolar regions. Is that a fair correlation to make? Correct? So this is the whole concept here in a nutshell. Now this is the reason why, the exact reason why you are looking at, say, down south, even south. Bulgaria is quite south, It's down south than the Nordic nations. So even in United Kingdom now, you are going to observe auroras. Ladakh, auroras. Why is that happening? Because we are in the middle of in fact, we are achieving and looking to go and reach our solar maxima. This is from the United States weather website. Have a look at this. In 2020, they go ahead and publish this report. Okay. The solar minimum between solar cycle 24 and 25, when the sun is least active, this happened in 2019. We are now in solar cycle 25 with peak sunspot activity expected in 2025. What does that tell you, my friends? That in the year 2023, November right now, we are getting very close to solar maxima, which means that much more emissions, that much more ejections happening from the sun's surface, from the corona. Which is why you're finding that these lights are becoming a lot more frequent and their area is a lot more larger. Understood? Clear hai? Okay. So these are the facts that you need to know. More importantly, please realize that because of solar cycle and say the resultant auroras, is this not how the earth and the sun are getting, say, electrically linked? Can I say that? Right? This is an evidence of how my sun and my earth are electrically linked. Primarily why? The fundamental force that is driving this linkage is the sun's ejection of its, say, solar winds. Got it? Okay. So some facts for you here. The solar cycle driven by sun's magnetic field, in fact more particularly the reversal that happens. That could take approximately 11 years, 10 years, 9 years, 8 years. The best thing about solar cycle and the worst thing about solar cycle is that it is not known. You would expect it to be 11 years, it could happen in 8. Right? So 2025 is when the scientists are predicting that we will reach solar maxima. Okay? Now more importantly, here is one more concept that you need to know. So you have seen, say, auroras and you have understood about, say, aurora borealis, which is what? Neon in color or red in color. In the red color, you have the nitrogen that is getting excited. Now here it is. Here is a purple band in the sky that you see. Up until now, you saw that my auroras are to do with neon color or say red color. Correct? How is this purple band coming up now? Now this purple band is nothing but strong thermal emission velocity enhancement, also known as STEV. Okay? They will appear as purple band, or you could have almost a green picket fence structure. What is a picket fence? It would look something like this, an incomplete picket fence. Okay. So why is this being caused now? What is the reason for this? Well, what you'll find is two reasons. Heating of charged particles in the upper atmosphere, again from the sun, hits the Earth's atmosphere, gets heated up, friction. Okay. While the picket fence structure results from electrons falling into the atmosphere, which is pretty much how my aurora is born. Which is why STEV is also known as aurora hybrid. Okay. So here is one other concept that I wanted to introduce to you, the difference between auroras and STEV. Okay. If you have any particular questions, go ahead and shoot me a question in the comment box. I'll be more than happy to take them now. And before we go forward, here is the question that I have for you. So yesterday we had just one question, which was an anomaly, but today we have enough number of questions to go ahead and increase the learning for you. Question number 1. Auroras are an evidence of Earth being electrically connected to the sun. And statement 2. Auroras are caused due to the polar reversal of the sun. You will identify the correct statements. Question 2. Convection zone, radiative zone, transition region, corona. The correct order starting from the inner layer of the sun. Right? Go ahead and answer this for me. Leave your answers in the comment box below. Okay. Before we go forward, very quickly, a quick announcement. The P2I course, yes, much sought after. And in fact, the reviews, the student testimonials are a credit to the students themselves who have really gone ahead and applied themselves in learning with the faculty members here. Yes, the entire focus being on hand-holding right from prelims to interviews, okay, giving you the conceptual clarity that is needed, giving you the resource material. Yes, they know how to solve questions. All of that is the central focus here. And if you're someone who's preparing for say next year or the year after that, well, this is the right time to go ahead and firstly appear for the, say, the preparation part of it. Now, if you're doing it on your own, all the best. But if it's someone who's looking to get a bit of guidance, yes, getting that absolute experience behind your backs, the wind behind your sails, then the prelims to interview initiative of StudyIQ is the best place that you could go ahead and engage yourself with, right? Use the code BALIVE. This gets offered in 3 languages, English, Hindi and bilingual. And use the code BALIVE. Why? Because obviously you can see you get a good discount and well, you get allotted to my batch. We get preparations together underway. All right, next topic that comes to you from the Indian Express. Now yesterday, the Chief Information Commissioner was administered the oath of office by the President of India, right? Hiralal Samaria, he is the Chief Information Commissioner. So it's absolutely required that we go ahead and revise Chief Information Commissioner. What's the scope of the Chief Information Commissioner, the Central Information Commission? Yes, let's do that. So the Central Information Commission, it's a statutory body, comes under the, well, it gives effect to the Right to Information Act of 2005. Now the Central Information Commission, what you realize, consists of the CIC and not more than 10 information commissioners, right? So this is the composition that you're looking at, the CIC plus 10 ICs, okay, appointed by the President, and there is a recommendatory body that goes ahead and well recommends the appointment of the CIC. First, you have the Prime Minister, who is the chairperson, then the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and finally a cabinet minister who is nominated by the Prime Minister. So 3 individuals comprise the board, you know, who go ahead and make the recommendation for the appointment of the Chief Information Commissioner. Now, what is the eligibility and term of office? Let's do this. Here is firstly the first criteria. The person should be a person of eminence and then the fields are given. Now, what you find, okay, let's go ahead and understand the criticism now. One of the primary criticisms in fact. So what you find is that well, it goes ahead and gives you a wide range of areas from which you can go ahead and pick someone, a person of eminence. But what is found is that more often than not, it is ex-bureaucrats who get to go ahead and well, occupy this coveted post, which was observed by the High Court and the Supreme Court as one of the primary criticisms, saying, well, can the government not find any other persons of eminence in any other field, right? So this is again first eligibility. The second is the barring bit. Many people are debarred from holding this position. A set of people. Who are the ones that are debarred? So if you are an MP or an MLA, or if you have an office of profit, or if you are even associated with any political party, if you are someone who is in any business, any profession, well, that you go ahead and well, you are pretty much out of the race. Okay. So this is it. There is a positive list that you can consider, and then there is a negative list that is for the eligibility, the selection of the Chief Information Commissioner. Now, the person holds office for a maximum of what? Up until he or she reaches 65 years, or for a term prescribed by the union government. 2 areas, two criteria. But one more sub-criteria you can consider it to be, that the total term of an individual, say X. Now the total term of that individual, including when he or she is an information commissioner and then say gets promoted as the CIC. Suppose if this is the case, even in that case it will be no more than 5 years. And what's more important, that after you finish your maximum time limit, no reappointment. Right? This is to maintain accountability, transparency, making sure that all sections of the society are given equal importance and say chance to go ahead and be the regulatory authority of sorts when it comes to information in the country. Okay? Right? So the challenges to the RTI then. Now, since we have understood, say, the Central Information Commission, let's go ahead and understand the effect, because eventually it is doing what? It is giving effect to the RTI Act of 2005. So, in terms of implementation of the RTI Act, what are the challenges? Well, many. Okay, let's look at it. Number one, lack of transparency. Now, this is, like I told you, observations by the Supreme Court on persons of eminence clause, that only ex-bureaucrats are the ones that are given the chance to become a Chief Information Commissioner. In fact, the High Court observing that can you not find any other persons of eminence in any other field? Okay. Number two, record management practices are inadequate and non-scientific, and this is to do with almost all government bodies, right? That information needs to be collated and kept in a certain manner so that you can go ahead and provide it if and when you are asked. However, often the information collation does not happen. There is no record of half the, say, statistics. Okay. Even if those statistics might be there, they may not be arranged in a particular manner so that they can be given out to the information seeker, right? So, lack of scientific management of information is also one very key criticism. Obviously, vacancies, that the commission is understaffed, key positions have been vacant for years. That undermines the whole goal of information management and accountability when it comes to information, right? Lack of capacity. Now, what happens is every government department, okay, has a PIO or a CPIO. Yes, the person who is responsible for, say, managing the RTI applications. Now, what happens is that more often than not, the person who occupies this position has probably minimum idea of the RTI Act himself. Not much idea. So, if the person is inadequate in terms of knowledge base, how are they going to go ahead and say respond to applications? Will they be able to grasp the essence of the applications, right? That is again a key challenge, which means you need training to go ahead and educate the officers, educate the staff about RTI. Okay. Delay in disposal of appeals and complaints, and obviously poor quality. This is one very key criticism, because often you find that most information is either denied, okay, or the information that is provided to you is not the information that you wanted. Yes, it is probably a version of the interpretation of the information that you wanted, right? So, these are the key criticisms of the RTI Act. Pranjul, good morning. GR, I am teaching challenges to RTI, as you can see. Which page are you getting the news from? Well, it's to do with the entire Indian Express. If you open the first page today, you'll find this news. Okay, it's right there on the first page. It's a national news. Okay, okay. So, like I told you, your Central Information Commission, it goes ahead and looks at, say, the central government bodies. Okay. Similarly, you have State Information Commission that goes and looks at the state bodies. So, in that context, let's go ahead and answer these two questions very quickly. In which of the following is the RTI Act not applicable for intelligence and security organizations? Okay, number one, is it to do with human rights violation, or number two, corruption? In which case can you not file an RTI? Especially if you are, say, applying for an RTI to, say, Intelligence Bureau or Research and Analysis Wing or, say, CBI. Yes, can you be denied the particular information if it is to do with human rights violation or corruption? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment box. And question number 4, which of the following organizations are mandated to share information with the CIC under RTI Act 2005? Okay. First option, Bombay Stock Exchange. Second option, Tamil Nadu State Agricultural Marketing Board. Number 3, BSNL. Number 4, Amazon India. Essentially, to go ahead and check whether you know which body is what. Is Bombay Stock Exchange a private body, an autonomous body, a government body, right? Go ahead, let me know your answers in the comment box, right? Any questions that you have for me, you will leave your questions for me in the comment box, or you can reach out to me on my Instagram ID that goes by the name of Bhuvan StudyIQ. Chaliye. The third and final topic that I have for you, Tribal Youth Exchange Program. So, recently you had the delegation that called on the Honorable President of India, okay? And they were a part of the Tribal Youth Exchange Program. So, what is it? Firstly, it is a youth exchange program. Obviously, these young individuals are going, visiting the countries, visiting dignitaries, learning about the country, engaging in community service, all those that are the basic building blocks of an aware, informed, sensitive youth, okay? And the government is taking a lot of effort in that direction. You have the National Youth Policy, in fact, which was launched in the year 2021. Okay. The National Youth Policy that was drafted by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, okay, in the year 2021. And it talks about, well, maximizing India's demographic dividend by 2030. Okay, in line with the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Developmental Goals. So that youth policy by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports outlines that. Okay. At the same time, you find now the focus is on making sure that, say, gender-sensitive information is conveyed. Okay, that you're looking at, say, re-energizing those sets of students or individuals or youth who have been left out, marginalized so far. Okay, that is the entire focus of the National Youth Policy. So under that, you find that the Tribal Youth Exchange Program, they went to the president. Okay, and the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, this is the one that organizes. The organization is the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, which is, by the way, an organization under Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. Okay, it's under Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, but it gets help with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it organizes this youth exchange program. Okay, set up in the year 1972, plays a pivotal role in youth development and empowerment. Right. So, like I told you, the goals to have a sensitive youth, to give them opportunities, right? You're giving them training, exposure, right? They engage in community service. So all of those fundamental building blocks that eventually go ahead and make your aware youth. Yes, that is the goal of the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan. Right, go ahead and answer this question for me, my friends. Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan is what type of organization? Autonomous, statutory, constitutional or ad hoc? And question number 6. The National Youth Policy is a roadmap for youth development by 2030. And the National Youth Policy excludes reintegration of NEET youth which is not in education, employment or training. Okay, apply your common sense. Let me know your answers in the comment box. Identify the correct statements. Right? So if you understood the 3 topics that we did here today, by the way, the Aurora, thereafter we took a look at the Chief Information Commissioner, and thereafter we took a look at the Tribal Youth Exchange Program by the NYKS. If you understood those topics, okay, if you are clear of how the Aurora happened now, go ahead and leave me a like. I would really appreciate it. Okay, chalo. Let's look at the question of yesterday then. Yesterday I just had one question for you, not a very difficult question. So let's look at it. India's NFU nuclear policy, no first use nuclear policy, helps the country build deterrence only against a nuclear attack is true. Yes, it is designed to go ahead and dissuade other countries from harming you in a nuclear fashion. Correct? India's no first use nuclear policy need not be ratified by the parliament or the president is absolutely correct. It's an executive paper. Yes, it is not set in stone like I told you yesterday. It can be changed easily, which is why right now, yesterday we discussed about strategic ambiguity. That India has not reaffirmed its commitment of sorts for a long time in official documents. Maybe in press release, in say press, that is fine. But the word of the whole fact, devil lies in the details. So unless and until you have an official document that corroborates that yes, India is indeed confirmed with the no first use policy, yes, then that is a different matter. But right now what you find is that strategic ambiguity has come in. And critics are also saying, should India absolutely go ahead and declare? What's the rationale in that? Let the enemy keep guessing how India will go ahead and respond in case the nuclear threshold is breached. Correct? Okay. Question number 3. India, China and Russia are the only countries to have declared a no first use policy. Well, in fact, what you find is Russia has not been ever a vocal proponent of no first use. Okay. Similarly with European countries, similarly with the United States, they really haven't gone ahead and said that yes, we will not launch a nuclear weapon in the first instance. Okay, it's only India and China who have gone ahead and confirmed up until now that they are committed to the no first use policy. So which of the above are incorrect? Well, what you find is none of the above, as it's just 3 only. Okay. So the individuals who answered the questions correctly for me: Crystal, Monica, Vinayak, Anamika, Shubham, Harshit, Neeraja, Vidisha, Manika, Koder, Gopesh, Karuna, Aditya, Rahul, Target CSE, Gatso, Akshay and Ayush. Good job, guys. Okay. Some of the questions yesterday we just had one question, but eventually today's questions you will find some of them are not very easy. They will require you to go ahead and say, research for 2-3 minutes a bit. Do that. Eventually, it is to go ahead and fill the knowledge gaps that you have that might so arise during the course of the discussion. Right? On that note, it's a wrap from me, Bhuvan Apurva Jha. You can go ahead and collect the PDF of this entire lecture that will be uploaded on my Telegram channel by noon this afternoon. Okay? Till I see you tomorrow morning once again in the next class of Indian Express Explained. This is Bhuvan Apurva Jha signing off for StudyIQ IAS English. Thanks for watching. Have a